It's time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Just kidding. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Yes, Tuesday. We are here live on a Tuesday evening instead of Wednesday, but we will be back again tomorrow night as well. This is the Voice of Indie podcast. This is show number 200. I'm
200.
And here's Mr. Stephen Gies back there in the background. How you doing tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing great. I'm just excited. We're trying again for show number 200. We had Colleen M story booked for show 200. We were all excited about it, and then when the tech issues made it fall apart, it's like, well, what are we going to do? We don't want somebody else to be 200. We've got Colleen M story for 200. So here we are on a Tuesday. Is this exciting or what? I just don't know what to do with myself.
This is exciting, and listeners, we have been kind of playing around with another podcast host, so we'll find out if this one's going to work for us. There's some things that we need to kind of smooth out with that one, and we may be leaving Blog Talk Radio because they're not reliable. I don't know what happened with this outfit. Now, they say that they've got everything under control, but if it happens again, and it's just happened, it's 4 or 5 times now that it's happened, so it's, just keep your eyes on the newsletter because we'll give you updates on that stuff, on, what we're going to do. So.
All right, so we've got some books out right now.
Yes, we do.
One that's tearing up the charts is by Jan Sykes, A Beggar's Bargain, and that's the first book in her Bargainers series. And she's working on book 2 right now. She's real excited about it. She's been out doing tours, book signings. I'm pretty sure she went into outer space a couple of times. A Beggar's Bargain by Jan Sykes. Get out there and check that out. It's all the buzz right now.
Yeah, and we've also got The Nurses, Book 1 of Nurses of the Krieg. That's out now by Anna Morgan. Anna Morgan is over there in the UK, and this is a World War II era piece, so a book story. So get out there and check out The Nurses, Book 1 of The Nurses of the Krieg by Anna Morgan. And since we're on live tonight on a Tuesday evening, and this is kind of a unique situation, and it's episode number 200. We want you to call in tonight. Call in with your questions or your comments, or you can reach us by Twitter, X, as they call it, the kids call it these days. So here's how you can do that.
Call 516-453-9902 right now with your questions or comments for tonight's guest, or post a note on Twitter with hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body of the tweet, and we'll read it on air. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group on Twitter.
Be there.
All right, we got more books out. We released A Light in the Darkness just about 3 weeks ago, and that's by Tina Reist. And that's a book of poems, short essays, a whole lot of thankfulness, gratitude, calling out people who have made a difference in her life. Tina's a person who lives in a group home and has some challenges, and she has a guardian. And she's been working real hard on this, and we wanted to help her put it out there, and it's actually doing very well. Tina's very proud of it. We're proud of Tina, so we want everybody to check it out. A Light in the Darkness by Tina Reist. That's R-E-I-S-T.
Woohoo! Yay, Tina. Cheryl Carpinello's audiobook, The King's Ransom, Tales and Legends, that is out now. You can go over to Amazon and you can get that and listen to it, and it's really cool. It's narrated by actor Ethan Drew, and guess who's on the show tomorrow night? Just so happens to be Cheryl Carpinello. So
Ethan Drew.
Be sure to tune in tomorrow night, and we'll talk all about the audiobook and have a good time with it. So.
A couple more books we've recently released are by Robert G. Williscroft, the 3rd and 4th book in his Ort Chronicles series. Ran, A Civilization in Hiding. Boy, I'm stumbling on my tongue today. Ran, A Civilization in Hiding is the 3rd Ort Chronicle, and then Keyed, A Lost Civilization is the 4th Ort Chronicle. Now, today's newspaper that you got this morning on a rare Tuesday morning, I know every one of you reached for your calendars and thought, what's going on? This one has a very cool review for his rant. Tomorrow's newsletter, tomorrow morning at the usual time on a Wednesday morning, you'll have a cool review for his Keed, A Lost Civilization. So check out those 3rd and 4th Orc Chronicles. And while you're looking at that newsletter, notice that Mr. Willis Cross is going to be making some appearances around Colorado. Good chance for you to meet him if you're going to be in the middle of the U.S. Check that out.
Yeah, and speaking of Robert G. Willis Croft, the Star Child Saga, books 1, 2, and 3 are out now, with book 4 coming soon, and book 5 is in the planning stage, because this guy is prolific, and so keep your eyes and ears on that newsletter. And speaking of the newsletter, if you're not subscribed to it, here's how you can remedy that.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of freshinkgroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What? Okay, also coming soon, we got a whole bunch of books coming. Pandemonium in Puzzle Town by B.A. Johnson. Miratambo Moonsong by Michael Filippello. Mr. President, I've Got Your Back by Abigail H. Hugueny and Mary L. Smalls. Journey Through the Lens.
Now, Beem, you can't call that one a coming soon anymore.
Yeah, that one's already out, but this is what it says.
That just came out yesterday.
This is last. We had this for last week, so And Through the Lens, a creative guide to wildlife photography by Angie Birmingham, which is going to be really cool because this woman's photography work is just exquisite. And if you haven't seen it, dig around in your email trash and find from a few weeks ago, we posted some of her photos in there, and they're just amazing. Then we got Nowhere to Go But Tomorrow, a novel by Nell Cooper, and Loretta Spencer, A Passion for Service, a candid memoir by the first woman mayor of Huntsville, Alabama. Those are all coming soon, except for Mr. President, I've Got Your Back. That's out now, so get over there and grab a copy by Abigail H. Hugueny and Mary L. Small.
Yeah, last week when we were supposed to be doing this show, that one was coming soon, but it was coming so soon, it's already here.
It's already here.
Mr. President, that's a very cool book. That's by 2 former First Ladies at South Carolina State University. And Abigail Hugueny, who's also the author of our bestseller, There Must Be Something in the Water, she was also the First Lady of Alabama A&M University. These ladies know what they're talking about. What a cool book. Very important part of African-American history, academic history. Everybody should be checking those out.
Yeah.
So let's look at our top 25 print bestsellers from Fresh Ink Group, and let's see what's happening. At the 25 slot, we've got Robert G. Willis Cross, Operation Ivy Bells, a Mac McDowell mission, the first of the 4 Mac McDowell mission books in his submarine Cold War thriller series. And that's a novel, Beam, in hardcover, making our top 25. And we've got Larry Landgraf's The Adventures of Ali Orangutan. That's a illustrated chapter book for children about an orangutan who's captured and being transported to a zoo, but he escapes, and he and his animal friends have all kinds of fun. We got Kenneth Lindquist, How to Teach Driving, the Parents Edition. Usually the Instructors Edition is up in here somewhere, too. He's got 2 books, one for parents, one for instructors. Everybody should be checking those out if you know somebody who's learning to drive. All right, hardcover edition of Jerry Pate's Submariner, 30 Years of Hijinks and Keeping the Fleet Afloat has made our top 25 this week. Jerry is a retired U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander. He's got 60 chapters of memoir here that are just all kinds of interesting. You need to check that out. Najma Thomas, Dr. Najma Thomas from South Carolina State University's As We Remember, A History of the Women's Relief Corps in Beaufort, South Carolina, is next up on the list. And, of course, Beam, you know we've got a David Carroll in here. I Will Be Your Scapegoat, David Carroll's Homemade Social Media Blunders. What's that thing about?
That's about funny stuff that you find on the Internet and on signs, and it's just misspellings or worded in a way where it sounds improper or inappropriate, but they're funny. So
yeah,
we were, as we were going through this book during the process of putting it together, Stephen and I were laughing out loud, literally.
Yeah, and while I was editing all the images, I kept sending them to people. Hey, look at this one. Hey, look at this one. So I had one friend finally write me back and say, look, I'll just buy the book. Okay, we've got The Chair, Volume 1, Lightning, Thunder, and Glory, by Robert Mackenzie. That's the first of 4 books in his Chair series, which we have it on good authority. Kathy Ireland really likes. So, hey, Kathy Ireland can't be wrong. But the first 4 books are out. We're working on the 5th book. We're going to have it out at the end of this summer. And there's been some rumblings from South Texas from Mr. Mackenzie that there might be a 6th. We never know. Ooh. But the Chair, Volume 1, has made our list. Congratulations, Robert. And then Tina Reist, who I mentioned earlier, A Light in the Darkness, Words and Poems of Encouragement. Her hardcover edition, Beem, is up here in the middle of our top 25 list, so that's doing well, too. Now, here's a book that we published, God, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, something like that, and we haven't seen it make our list lately. Richard W. Jenkins's Behind the Smile, Exceptional Poetic Renderings. Now, this is real highbrow literary poetry.
Yeah.
This guy's, he's good. He's very high-end on his poetry. So if that's what you like, check that out.
Or Chaucer.
Yeah. Now, we mentioned Anna Morgan. The Nurses of the Krieg, Book 1, has started climbing up our list. It's only been out about a week and a half, something like that. And it's a paperback edition. Now, you also mentioned earlier that Nell Cooper's Nowhere to Go But Tomorrow novel is in the works, and we're looking to have that out in the next couple of weeks or so. But her first book that we published, I'm thinking 20-something years ago, Princess Lil. It's a chapter book for children aimed primarily at little girls about a pony that is being bullied. And that book keeps just popping into our bestseller lists every now and then kind of fades a little bit and then pops back in there again for decades. So check out Princess Lil by Nell Cooper if you know any children who'd be interested in a book about bullying. Dr. Helen Morrell, American Agony, The Opioid War Against Patients in Pain, paperback edition, is getting to be a perpetual denizen in our top 25 list here. And now we're back to The Nurses of the Krieg, Book 1 again by Anna Morgan, the hardcover edition of a very lengthy novel. That thing's like 500-something pages, if I remember right. And the hardcover, which is expensive, is, comparatively, is outselling the softcover in novel form. Wow. And that's just seriously cool. Now, Beem, you got the year on Princess Lil?
Yeah, 2013. So it's been 11 years.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of a while.
That's an early one. That was back when Ann Stewart was still doing the publishing end before we lost her. Yeah,
we miss Ann. Oddly enough, Ann's birthday was the day before yesterday, so I was thinking about her. Was also the same birthday as an author that we lost just a few months ago, and that's Dr. Marguerite Shearer, MD, who, with her husband, Marshall L. Shearer, MD, wrote several books that we've published, including stuff about relationships, sex, and he wrote one about religion, too, which is real cool. So back to our list here. We've got How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Florida by A.K. Wingler. And then Celebrate 98, the untold stories behind the Tennessee Football Vols' 1998 championship, further proving that college football fans don't care what time of the year it is. We're into it. Bring it on. Bring it on. And then we're back to the paperback edition of Tina Reist, A Light in the Darkness, Words and Poems of Encouragement. And, as I promised earlier, the Instructor's edition of Kenneth Lindquist's How to Teach Driving, Behind the Wheel, Lesson by Lesson. Now, this is getting us up to the top top five. Top 5. Mark Herndon, The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip. Mark Herndon is the former drummer from the super country group Alabama. He played with them for nearly 3 decades. And now he's playing with country star Leah Seawright, who he also happens to be married to, and she's got some new music out. We're going to be talking about that in the coming weeks and months as well. But Mark Herndon's The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip, it's a musician's memoir that is just seriously cool. It's got all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but it doesn't try to dish dirt. It takes the high road, and Mark acknowledges mistakes he made and things that he might have done differently, and he lays it all out there, honestly and truly, and that's just one of my favorite books. Now, How to Teach Driving, Instructor's Edition, paperback edition, has made the number 4, so apparently a lot of people are out there learning to drive lately, Beem.
Yeah.
That gets us to our top 3. Now, this week we published Mr. President, I've Got Your Back, about the First Ladies by Abigail H. Uguiney and Mary L. Smalls. And I mentioned that Abigail H. Uguiney's first book was published by us a few years back. It is now our number 3 bestseller in print this week, Beem.
Wow.
There Must Be Something in the Water, Anthology of the Fourth Generation, Descendants of Green Pond After the Emancipation by Abigail Miriam Hamilton Kinney. So check that out, but definitely check out Mr. President, I've Got Your Back, that was just released. That gets us to our top 2. Mark Herndon, The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip, in paperback edition, is grabbing the number 2 spot, and that brings us to number 1, which is climbing to the top at the same time the submarine is plunging. Submariner, 30 Years of Hijinks and Keeping the Fleet Afloat by retired U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander Jerry Pate. That's our number 1 bestseller in print this week, paperback edition by Jerry Pate. Congratulations, Jerry.
Yay, Jerry. All right. Okay, so, we weren't here last week because of issues and blah, blah, blah. And if that happens, we've got an archive. You can go in there and pick out a favorite episode from the past or one you weren't around to listen to or whatever. You can go and check out 199 of these things in there. So here's how you can find those archives.
Find your favorite show in the Voice of Indie archives on YouTube at Fresh Ink Group, StephenG's.com, BeamWeeks.com, FreshInkGroup.com, and on Spotify. And now, you can listen on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and TuneIn. Just search The Voice of Indie, all one word.
A shocking proposal that changes everything. Desperate to honor his father's dying wish, Laken Martin vows to do whatever it takes to save the family farm. Once the Army discharges him following World War II, Laken returns to Missouri to find his legacy in shambles and in jeopardy. A foreclosure notice from the bank doubles the threat. He appeals to the local banker for more time, a chance to rebuild, plant, and harvest crops, and time to heal far away from the noise of bombs and gunfire. But the banker firmly denies his request. Now what? Then the banker makes an alternative proposition. Marry his unwanted daughter, Sarah Beth, in exchange for a 2-year extension. Out of options, money, and time, Laken agrees to the bargain. Now he has 2 years to make a living off the land while he shares his life with a stranger. Read A Beggar's Bargain, Book 1 in the Bargainer series by best-selling author Jan Sykes. Available worldwide from multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. A Beggar's Bargain by Jan Sykes.
Set in medieval Wales during the mystical times of King Arthur, 11-year-old Gavin and his friends are determined to prove their mentor, the Wild Man, innocent of murder. The youngest heir of Pembroke Castle, 11-year-old Gavin longs to prove he is worthy of knighthood, but he fears his own failures, and now he must choose between fleeing and fighting to save his friend. Gavin's coming-of-age story is full of mystery, intrigue, betrayal, and the charms of an eerie witch. Will Gavin earn his knighthood, or will evil challenge his very survival? Read the young adult chapter book, The King's Ransom, Tales and Legends, Young Knights of the Round Table, by Cheryl Carpinello, and now discover the audiobook, narrated by Ethan Drew, with music and sound effects. Produced and published by Fresh Ink Group. Cheryl Carpinello's King's Ransom, Tales and Legends audiobook is available worldwide.
All right, that was Ethan Drew, movie star of films like Camp Nowhere, who narrates the audiobook. He also just narrated that commercial. So we're real excited about that. It's a new release from Cheryl Carpinello, who will be our guest tomorrow night. But it's not tomorrow night, is it? It's tonight. It's Tuesday. It's weird because we're not used to doing this on a Tuesday, and I'm not quite sure I'm even here. But let's meet tonight's guest. Colleen M. Story is a novelist, freelance writer, writing coach, and speaker. In other words, she can't figure out what she wants to do, apparently. With over 25 years in the creative writing industry, The Curse of King Midas, her newest novel, was recognized as a top 10 finalist for the Claymore Award prior to publication. Her previous novels include The Beached Ones and Lorena's Gift, which was a Forward Reviews Indies Book of the Year Awards winner. Colleen's series of popular success guides for writers, Your Writing Matters, Writer Get Noticed, and Overwhelmed Writer Rescue, have all been recognized for their distinction. She frequently serves as a motivational speaker where she helps attendees remove mental and emotional blocks and tap into their unique creative powers. A lifelong musician, Colleen plays the French horn in her local symphony and pit orchestras. When not writing, she's exploring the beautiful Pacific Northwest and making up more challenging games for her smart German Shepherd to play. Find more at ColleenMStory.com and WritingAndWellness.com. So, welcome to the show, Colleen. It's great to talk to you on our second try.
Thanks so much, you guys. Appreciate you making the time to fit me in this week. That's double duty for you.
It'll be worth it.
That's all right. So how about we start off by telling the listeners where you're living right now and where you're originally from, and if you've lived elsewhere, what brought you to where you are now?
I grew up in Colorado, western Colorado, so not too far from the Utah border, kind of that Banana Belt area where you have book cliffs on one end of the valley and flat-top mountains on the other side of the valley. It was really mild there. It was a wonderful place to grow up. And right now I'm living in Idaho and have been here for over 20 years now. I'm living in southeast Idaho, so I'm surrounded by potato and alfalfa and wheat fields, and right now everything is looking green and gorgeous, so this is a great time of year for us. The winters can be pretty rough, but that just makes us appreciate the summers all the more.
Yeah, do you like to get out there and take pictures too? Because you got some beautiful stuff around there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're only about an hour and a half from the west entrance to Yellowstone National Park, and then about an hour and a half from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where the Grand Tetons are. So, yeah, it's a pretty good location. We have a lot of tourists coming through and stopping here on their way to those places in the summer.
Oh, cool. So, Colleen, you've obviously become a bit of a Renaissance woman, keeping a bunch of hats on and doing various things at the same time. Were you always like that? Were you an overachiever? What kind of a kid were you? Were you into reading and writing at an early age? Did you get up on soapboxes and make speeches, or did you spend all your time with the French horn?
I was an overachiever, that is true. I love to learn. I wasn't really a big fan of school because I've always been really introverted, so that was always, I had to really build myself up to go to school every day. But I loved learning, and I did well in school, and I always loved reading and writing, but I wasn't thinking about being a writer early on. Music was my first love, so I started with piano when I was in first grade, and then started French horn in the fourth grade because I just loved the way it sounded. So music was kind of my main go-to, and then I was raised on a ranch. My folks had just about every animal you could imagine, and I was thrilled because that meant we got to have horses. So when I wasn't doing music, I was out riding horses, and they had land that backed up to a bunch of BLM land, so you could just saddle up and go. You didn't have to trailer off anywhere, and ride to your heart's content as far out there as you wanted to go. So I was kind of an explorer. I had a mare that I raised and trained, and so it was kind of an idyllic childhood in many ways, growing up there, and the writing bug didn't bite me till later on.
But that music bug, once you get bit by that as a kid, it never heals, does it? It's always there.
I figured you'd relate to that, you being a composer. I actually went through college for music, and I spent some time composing too, and there's just a magic there that you're exactly right. That's something that stays with you your whole life.
Yeah, and now you're playing with local symphonies and pit orchestras. Tell us a little bit more about that. I'm excited about that.
Well, I've stayed with the French horn and piano. I play other instruments too, and I teach brass instruments. But the French horn, was kind of what I really focused on in college, and along with the piano, I played both on my senior recital. But pretty much when you go to any community, they often need French horn players, and I was lucky enough to make it into the symphony here. So I've been playing with them for many years, and then there's various pit orchestras around the area that need horns. Right now we're preparing to do The King and I at the end of June, and there's always something like that we're doing. I just finished doing the Little Women musical a little while before that, and before that we did The Marriage of Figaro with the Opera Theater. So there's always something to be involved in if you're playing the French horn, and I just love that because it's a really nice counterpoint to writing. It gets me out, and I have a lot of music friends, and it's just a whole other way of creating that I really enjoy.
Oh, that's terrific. Do you have a particular piece that's like your favorite, something you really like to play?
You mean on the French horn?
Yeah. Well, with the orchestra or whatever.
With the orchestra, oh gosh, there's so many. I don't think I could choose just one. I could probably point to a concert we did, it's probably about 2 years back, that was a focus on movie music. And so we were playing Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all that stuff. And for brass players, that back row, the French horn, trumpets, and trombones and tuba, we really get to shine on that kind of music. So I was just loving the heck out of that. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes other orchestra music really focuses on the strings, and we French horns sit there and count 250 measures before we come in. So those aren't quite as fun. But that was a really enjoyable concert. And there are many classical composers that use us well also.
Oh, cool.
Now, you've mentioned college, your education. So where did you go to college, and what did you major in, and do you have any future plans to maybe return and further your education?
Or teaching.
I went to
teaching.
Yeah, I went to college. I went to college in Gunnison, Colorado. It was called Western State College at that time. It is now Western Colorado University. And I chose that place because of several reasons. One, it was a little bit smaller college, and I felt more comfortable there. I went and met with all the music people, and I went to some of the other colleges in Colorado too, and did a tour and checked them out. And that one I just felt most comfortable with. And being kind of a country girl, having been raised on a ranch, that Gunnison area, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's another really gorgeous area in Colorado. So when you want to break from the classwork, you can take off and go hiking and drive around and just see some really beautiful country. So that's kind of where I went and got my degree. And I got a Bachelor's of Arts, but I did major in music education because my plans at that time were to go on and be a band director in the school system. And I didn't end up doing that, but that was my plans then. And I really, to this day, the education has still been really valuable. I continue to teach music lessons privately. I have my own studio in my home, and we do recitals a couple times a year with the kids, and I love seeing them grow and learn, and then the whole college experience of just being able to immerse yourself and getting as good on your instrument as you could was a lot of fun. I really valued that. But then I didn't end up using that education, and I don't think I would go back now. I have looked a time or two when I kind of get the idea of maybe getting a master's in fiction writing, but it's so darn expensive. And I think I've kind of established where I'm going now as a writer that I don't think that would necessarily help me. So, no, I think I'm all good on education.
All right. We are talking with Colleen M. Story. If you want to be part of tonight's episode, you got a question or a comment, call 516-453-9902. That's 516-453-9902. Or get on X and use hashtag Fresh Ink Group, all one word, obviously, and we will read your comment or question on the air, and we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
A small rural community in the Lowcountry along Ocean Highway, Green Pine, South Carolina, has long lacked cultural and educational opportunities for its young people's future success. Many have gone on to serve in the highest levels of education, government, public service, elected office, business, and medicine. With so much success against the odds, surely there must be something in the water. Abigail Hugueny chronicles the impact just 42 of Green Pine's children have gone on to make in the world. All full-color editions include photos from around town and local translations of down-home sayings. These inspirational stories prove that, regardless of one's background, we can all find our own path toward greatness. an excellent reference, keepsake, gift, and addition to every library. There Must Be Something in the Water, Anthology of the Fourth Generation, Descendants of Green Pond, After the Emancipation, is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
All right. So over on Twitter, we do have a comment, or X. We do have a comment from Verwayne Greenhoe. He's just letting us know that he and his wife Lisa are in the house, as he says, after a beautiful day in the backyard. We look forward to tonight's program. Well, welcome to the show, Verwayne and Lisa. Always good to have you here. So, all right.
All right, so we're talking to Colleen M's story. We're hoping a couple of people will call in with some questions or comments. In the meantime, Colleen, tell us a little bit more about your family.
I have 3 brothers, and like I say, we were raised on a ranch in Colorado. My father was a Marine veteran. My older brother ended up going in the Coast Guard, and my younger brother in the Air Force. So we had a military family. And I think being raised with brothers kind of made me into a tomboy, but that was okay with me because I liked all the stuff the guys got to do, so that was all right. And like I say, we were raised on the ranch, so we were outside and doing a lot of hard work when we weren't in school, and I think that was also really good for us, raising animals and just being out in that fresh air. We weren't sitting in the house playing video games, and I looking back now, I think that was a really good way to go for us.
Oh, yeah. So, your brothers, I mean, do any of them do any kind of writing or any of that kind of stuff too, or are they primarily just military?
No, there's no other writers in the family as far as actually pursuing it. I know that my grandmother loved poetry. She had some poetry books around, and my mom always has also. And my mom is a big reader. She loves to read and does a lot of reading. But no, nobody was really a writer. I'm kind of the different one there. My older brother has worked in corporations after he left the Coast Guard, and my next brother after me is very mechanically inclined, like my dad was, and so he can fix just about anything that has an engine. And then my youngest brother that went into the Air Force was a pilot, and he just retired, and he is now a pilot for the airline. So, yeah, we all kind of did different things.
Yeah, and that's when you have your gatherings, it's always the writer in the room that everybody eyes suspiciously. Is she taking notes?
The family. I haven't done that, so I don't think they're too worried at this point, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So how about we talk about your novels? Let's take a look at the Beached Ones. What is this about? Interesting title.
That was the one that came out 2 years ago. That is what the publisher called that a supernatural thriller, and it is about 2 brothers that grow up in a kind of neglectful, abusive home, and the older brother leaves home and makes his way as a motorcycle stunt rider, but he always plans to go back and get his younger brother out of there. But then he has a really bad accident on the motorcycle, and things kind of twist all around after that. He ends up in Iowa. He doesn't know how he got there, and throughout the story, he knows that he has to go pick up his younger brother at a summer camp that he's at in California. And so the story follows the journey that he takes with an old girlfriend and her current boyfriend across country from Iowa to California on this quest to get his younger brother. And through that time, he kind of finds out what happened to him, what really happened, because it turns out that all is not as it seems.
Well, kind of a combination of coming of age and self-discovery?
Well, it's a little more serious than that, because as you read through there, you realize that he is no longer alive as he's walking through this life that he thinks he has returned to. So he is actually, he's the supernatural element in the story, and his old girlfriend is the only one who can see him. But she interacts with him like everything is normal, so at first he doesn't really know what's going on, and it's later that he kind of starts to piece together everything that happened. And, of course, then the big question is he going to be able to reunite with his brother or not?
Wow, sounds very
cool. Yeah, you know, that's interesting because the other day my mother and I were talking about a couple of movies that are kind of like that. The characters don't know they're dead, and one was Jacob's Ladder, and the original, and the other was The Others. With,
that's what I was thinking of. That's what I was thinking of, Beem. I love that one.
Yes, that's one of my all-time favorite movies because halfway through it I'm thinking this is slow and kind of boring, and I'm thinking about, you know, watching something else, and I'm glad I didn't because that ending was just like, what?
Oh, it's such a huge twist. Oh, yeah, I love that. And the one with Bruce Willis is like that, too.
The Sixth Sense.
The I See Dead People one, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have to pick that the beach ones up then because I like those kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might enjoy that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a popular theme these days, too, like with the sitcom Ghosts being such a major hit right now.
Oh, for sure. Although they do so well with the humor on that one. But, yeah, I love that show, too.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so, another novel, then, is Lorena's Gift. Was that before or after the Beached ones?
That was before. That came out in, I think that was 2016 with Dzanc Publishing. And that is also a supernatural thriller. She is a young lady who lost her parents. She and her older brother lost her parents. So they're living with their uncle in a small mountain town. And everything seems to be going all right. But as she matures and becomes a young lady, she finds that whenever she touches someone, she takes them to the afterlife. So she ends up finding this kind of by accident. And it turns out that the afterlife is whatever the person thought it would be. So there's various experiences that she goes through when she takes people, and she ends up in a spot because her older brother starts abusing drugs, and he gets in with a bad crowd. And one night he comes back to town looking for help, and she ends up killing one of the drug dealers that he's working for in order to save his life. So then she's drawn into this whole dark underworld of the drug dealers and this world of her brother, and she has to decide how much she's going to use this so-called gift she's got to be able to survive and to save her brother.
Wow.
All right. So your current novel, that is the Curse of King Midas?
Right.
What's this one about? And I see it's book one, so I'm guessing you got a series going with this one?
Yeah, this is a huge departure from where I've been, although it is still fantasy. Everything I write has kind of been under the umbrella of fantasy, but this one is a huge departure, and there's a story about how it came about that's kind of fun. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have expected I'd be talking about a book like this. It's a historical fantasy. But a friend of mine that is in the music world, he's a very fine trumpet player and also a composer. He has composed some orchestral pieces that we've played in concerts. And he often directs the pit orchestra for the various musicals that are performed in the area. And so he's like really knowledgeable about musicals. He knows them backwards and forwards and has done a bunch of study on them and has kind of had a dream to write his own musical. Well, he had read Lorena's Gift and enjoyed it, and he came and asked me what I would think about writing the book of King Midas. He said there has never been a musical done on the King Midas myth, and from what he understood, the best musicals were based on books, like Phantom of the Opera was a book before it was a musical. And not every musical is that way, but he says that the best ones are. They're based on a book. So he was wondering if I might think about writing the book, and then perhaps he could go ahead and do the musical. And so I told him, okay, well, as long as, you have the right to, if you don't like it, doesn't work for your composing sensitivities, then that's fine. But he wanted me to just go ahead and write it as I wanted to write it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. He asked me at a good time in my career. I had a space in between books, so I thought, I'll give it a try. Started looking into it, and I was like so surprised and excited to find that King Midas was a real person. He actually ruled in the kingdom of Phrygia back in the late 700s and early 600s BC. And when I discovered that just kind of lit a fire underneath me, because then I was able to do all the research on who he was, who his rivals were, what was going on then, and also found out that the University of Pennsylvania is doing an archaeological dig on his capital city as we speak. So they're always finding out new things, they're uncovering new artifacts, they're finding new things to add to his story. And so it's just been a blast, because I was able to combine what really happened in history with the myth of King Midas and his touch of gold, which I'm thinking most of your listeners will be familiar with. If not, I can briefly explain that. But I'm thinking most people know that myth. I was able to combine it with the real history to come up with this story, and I just had a lot of fun writing it.
So what's the story about?
Yeah.
The story is about King Midas and gaining this touch of gold, and then what happens to him and his family after that. His main rival in the story is King Sargon II. He was also a real king at that time. In history, he ruled the kingdom of Assyria, while King Midas ruled the kingdom of Phrygia. And they actually did fight with one another, battle with each other during that time. So he serves as the main antagonist. And then, of course, there's goddesses involved, because in the myth, it was a god who gave King Midas the touch of gold. So there are goddesses involved in magic and that sort of thing that actually bring about the touch of gold. And Midas is very devoted to his daughter and son, just like he is in the myth. But I didn't go with the motivation of greed. In the myth, the main motivation Midas has for wanting more gold is greed. And I couldn't really relate to that. It didn't seem to be enough of a motivation to raise the stakes for the story. So in my story, he is seeking revenge upon King Sargon for something that happened when he was a child.
Oh, well, that sounds very cool. And how long has this been out now?
It is on pre-order now. The ebook officially releases next Monday. Is it? It's June 10th that it officially releases. The hardcover is available now. The paperback and ebook will be releasing on June 10th.
Oh, okay. But people can order the paperback or ebook now and just wait for the release date?
Yes, they can order the hardback. They can order the hardcover now, or they can pre-order the ebook now.
All right, people.
And the pre-order is on special, yes.
Yeah, people, pick your edition that you want and go ahead and order it now. We'll wait.
Yeah. All right, we are talking with Colleen M. Story, and come on, people. If you're out there listening, I know it's a Tuesday, and some of the regular listeners may be here, but some of you are. I know that. So 516-453-9902. 516-453-9902. Call with your questions or comments for Colleen M. Story. We will be right back right after this.
In 1933, Berlin and Munich, 15-year-olds Katerina and Maria, who have never met, share the same dream, to become nurses who care for all regardless of race, creed, or color. They achieve their dreams, but their determination to rise above prejudice brings them into conflict with the authorities and very close to danger of arrest. As a result, they both find themselves sent to the same hospital in France, more for their own safety, where they meet unexpectedly and become firm friends. They look so similar to each other that people often mistake them, which leads them to play tricks on the people they meet. The nurses find themselves on the Mediterranean Sea bound for North Africa. Misfortune strikes when their ship, the Queen of the Sea, strikes a mine and begins to sink. Alone and adrift in a life raft, Katerina and Maria want to help others live, but that will never happen unless they find a way to survive. Read The Nurses, Nurses of the Krieg, Book 1 by Anna Morgan. Proudly published worldwide in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats by Fresh Ink Group. The Nurses by Anna Morgan.
Discover interstellar drama with Robert G. Willis Croft's science fiction series, The Oort Chronicles. In the first chronicle, Icicle, a tensor matrix, Braxton Thorpe has discovered a threat to the entire solar system, but he has a problem. He's dead. Frozen at death, he awakens to find himself uploaded into an electronic matrix. Exploring the larger global net, he discovers the Oort, a a distributed electronic entity older than humanity, with an unnerving secret. Aliens wiped out nearly all life on Earth once and are coming back to do it again. The mathematical entity that is Thorpe has to find a way to convince humans of the threat and in time to do something about it. But how? And what? In the second Oort Chronicle, the Oort Federation to the Stars, Braxton Thorpe passes the Federation chairmanship to former U.S. President John Butler. Thorpe's group offers humanity virtual immortality, but Isidore Orloff and his Udachni Enterprises oppose their every move. Phoenix terraforms Mars for more living space, but the Mars Reds prove formidable resistors. In this tense space adventure, Thorpe, his team, and Max the tabby cat travel to Proxima Centauri and beyond to the Aster system, 84 light-years distant. Will Thorpe bring together humans and Asterians in their quest for intergalactic travel? Will long life prove more than mere humans can handle? In the third Oort Chronicle, Ran, a civilization in hiding, humans commence a voyage of discovery to the cold spot in the cosmic microwave background. Their first stop is the planet Arcan, orbiting Ran in the constellation Eridanus, where they discover an incipient spacefaring Saurian civilization that has hidden itself from the rest of the galaxy. Arcan has 3 ruling nations: a fascist dictatorship, a primitive theocracy, and a free market republic. The humans are drawn into a rebellion to overthrow the fascist tyrant, and then help thwart the theocratic prophet's ambitions to subjugate Arcan. Told entirely from the Arcan perspective, Ran centers on the human aliens' desire to integrate Arcans into their growing Oort Federation. In the fourth Oort Chronicle, Cade, a lost civilization, Starship Andromeda stops at the Cade Triple Star System on its voyage of discovery and stumbles on a derelict Dyson sphere. The starship is attacked by microbots, scavenging one part of the sphere to repair another. They map the sphere and discover several primitive races inside: humanoid, feline, and saurian. The explorers discover that the Dyson Sphere's star is about to produce a super flare that could destroy all life and even the sphere itself. The explorers mount a major rescue effort to save the uploads and sapient races. Robert G. Williscroft's series, The Oort Chronicles, is available in jacketed hardcovers, softcovers, and all ebook formats, proudly published by Fresh Ink Group. Robert G. Williscroft's The Oort Chronicles.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have a caller on the line, so we're going to go and take this, and it looks like it's an Alabama area code. So hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Who is this?
Hi, this is Barbara Johnson calling from Huntsville.
Hi, Barbara.
Hello, Barbara. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Doing good. We made it to air tonight, so we're happy.
Yeah, the studio's working.
Great.
We're giddy.
Thank you for taking my call. I just have a couple of questions for your guest this afternoon.
Okay.
Congratulations. Hi, congratulations on your new book.
Oh, thank you so much. That's kind of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. My first question, what's your inspiration for writing your books for your young adults?
Actually, I don't have books for young adults. All of mine have been for adults so far. Some of my writing books might be able to be used by teenagers, but these are all for adults so far.
So what is your inspiration for these?
The inspiration for the Curse of King Midas was, as I mentioned a minute ago, my friend asked me to write the book about the myth, and I found out that the king was actually real, so I took off from there. The other 2 novels, the supernatural thrillers, just kind of came to me. I'm not really a plotter. I'm more of a discovery writer. So I usually have like an idea that comes from somewhere, and then I get kind of a thought about what the ending might be, and then I just kind of sit down and write. The inspiration for the Lorena's Gift, I think if I remember right, I was reading a Deepak Chopra book, and he said something about this idea of what if our afterlife was as we thought it was. because there's so many different, thoughts about what it might be like after we pass away. And the thinking he had, and I don't remember exactly how he put it, but it was something like, what if it is what you think it is? And so various people would have different experiences. And that's kind of what got me going to take off and explore the fact that Lorena is able to take people to their various afterlives. That's kind of where that came from. The beached ones came from a book that I had read, but it was after the movie. I saw the movie initially, Sarah's Key, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but it was by Tatiana de Rosny, and they made a movie out of it, and it was about the Jews that were rounded up by the French during World War II and put into a stadium and then shipped off to various camps. And there's one of the characters is a Jewish girl, and when they come to the door to take them off to this stadium where they held them, she pushes her little brother in the closet and tells him to stay there to save him from this, assuming that they will come back. And she locks him in here in the closet, and then they are never able to go back and rescue him. So this haunts her for the rest of her life. And so badly that at the end of her life, she, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to silence it for this next part. But at the end of the movie, she actually commits suicide because she's never able to get over that guilt that she carried. And that bothered me after watching the movie. I was like, it seems unfinished, and I kind of like, what happened to her after that? What did she think after that? And so that's kind of what got me exploring my character in the beach ones, kind of what happens after his death. And it also involves his bond with a younger brother.
Okay, what if, and then what? Some of my favorites.
Right.
Some of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay. One additional question. You say sometimes you just sit down and write. So do you use an outline as you're writing your stories, or do you just start writing and the creativity just comes?
It's the latter. Are you a writer, Barbara?
I am. I've published with Fresh Ink Group as well. I have two books
you
and one more.
Yeah. You know the difference between those two. For me, I tried outlining when I was first finding my voice as a writer, but it never worked for me because I'd outline the book and then I knew what happened and I didn't care anymore. So I do better not knowing exactly how it's going to flesh out. Of course, that means that then I have, it takes me longer to create a book. I think if I could outline, I could produce books more quickly, but because it takes me a while to discover my story and usually multiple drafts. So it's not the most efficient, but it is the way that my brain works. How about for you? Are you discovery or are you an outliner?
I have tried outlining, and Stephen has suggested outlining to me, but I'm more of the creative type. I just sit and words just seem to come to me, and I write.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier for me.
You have to honor your process. I went to a workshop one time with a best-selling author. It was a week-long writing workshop, and this person was telling us all that we all needed to outline, that if we didn't outline, it was just stupid, that we were hurting ourselves and all this. And I had not published a book by that time, and I remember thinking that, okay, I'm going to be a failure because I had tried outlining and it had not worked for me. So I was feeling really kind of down in the dumps, and that whole week they had author readings. So various authors were coming in and doing readings every night. And one night, Andre Dubusse III, who wrote The House of Sand and Fog, which was made a movie in the 1990s, he went up and talked about his process. And when I heard him speak, I thought he was explaining my process, because he talked about how he does not outline. In fact, he thought that you come up with more original ideas when you don't outline, because you're listening more to the right side of the brain than the left when you're just kind of going with the flow. And he talked about diving deep underwater and letting that, those slower brain waves kind of work for you in that kind of the zone that we get into when we're in the flow. And listening to him, I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to be all right, because if someone who is as fine a writer as he is can talk about doing that process and doing it well, then I had hope.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
All right.
Well, thanks for calling, Barbara.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my question. Have a good evening.
All right.
Okay. We have another caller. This one looks like it's from Michigan. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Hi, this is Judy Ike. Can you hear me?
Hi, Judy. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Yes, thank you. I was curious as I listened to her talking about this story if there was something in the writing of it that inspired another story as she was working on it. Does she have another project she wants to do as a result of the work that she did on this Midas book?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Judy. You're exactly right. I hadn't planned on it being a series initially. I thought it would just be a standalone, but I ended up developing several characters in the story that I got kind of attached to, and toward the end, a couple of those characters still had quite a bit more life to live and more things going on. And as I delved into the history of the time and the whole thing just kind of came together, the story still has a satisfying ending. But there are some threads that are left that when I sent it out to beta readers, they were like, okay, well, so now we want to know what happens to this person and what happens to that person. And so, of course, that's the best thing that can happen. So I went ahead and I'm now on draft 3 of book 2, and we'll just see how far the series goes. There's still a lot of history to talk about, too, that happened in that time, so that I'm using that as well, infusing that into the story, and so I'm continuing to enjoy doing that. So, yeah, there will be at least 2 books. I'm envisioning 3 at this time, and then we'll see what happens after that. Are you a writer, Judy?
Okay, yes, I am, and I was agreeing with the previous caller about I've tried outlining too, but then my characters just take a hike sometimes. And with outlining everything, it doesn't allow them the freedom to do this and the freedom for me to learn about them. So, yeah, it's an interesting process. But thank you for sharing. I was just curious to know if there was more coming. So thank you.
Yes, there is, and thanks for asking that. Yeah, it kind of happened organically, and I'm glad it did because I'm still enjoying this process and the series. I wanted to add one more thing more about outlining. I did struggle as a young writer when I wasn't outlining with story structure, and I think it was when I really dove into story structure and learned more about it and started breaking down all the stories and movies that I was seeing that I was then able to be a discovery writer more successfly, because I would get to middle places in my novels and get stuck and not quite know where to go. And looking back, I know that was because I wasn't real good at story structure yet. And then once I got a handle on that, then it made the whole discovery writing process a lot easier, because I kind of knew where we needed to be at each point in the story. So it wasn't outlining on the page, but I kind of had a sense of where things needed to end up.
What resource did you use for your story structure education?
Oh goodness, there was a lot of them. I have a couple of favorite books that I have recommended on my site on writing and wellness. One of them is Blueprint Your Bestseller by Stuart Horwitz, Horwitz. I found that one super helpful. There's also The Story Structure Architect by Victoria Lynn Smith that I also thought was really good. And then just reading about it and trying there's all kinds of different ways out there that structure can go. I mean, some have 7 steps, some have 9, some have whatever. But diving into that and kind of playing around with it, I think especially on stories that you already know, can kind of help that information and knowledge kind of sink into your brain a little bit more, so that when you do go back to just kind of create a story, it seems to flow a little easier.
That's interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for calling, Judy.
Yeah, thanks, Judy.
Okay.
All right. We're talking to Colleen M. Story.
Yeah, and we are going to. Yeah. We're going to take a break here, but 516-453-9902. 516-453-9902, and you too can be on the air as well. So give us a call.
Dexter Jones is a military veteran suffering from PTSD. He has flashbacks he can't quite explain. There are gaps in his memory. Is it the result of his head trauma, or is it the CIA running a program on him? Now a hired gun tasked to eliminate drug traffickers, Dex finds himself in Colombia wearing military fatigues and fully armed. But answering by name he's never heard. He sets off for an intercontinental mission to uncover the truth, even as assassinations and betrayal at the highest levels of government threaten to destabilize the world. Maybe it's not who Dex is so much as who he might still become. Now in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats, Village Boss by Ronan Duvall is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
Our mistakes do not define us. All of our experiences and challenges, especially the most painful, serve a greater purpose. A lifelong journey of profound experiences and personal sacrifices led Judy White Arts to discover her destiny and connect with her true, authentic self. Judy shares her story and divine pearls of wisdom in this memoir that is equal parts inspiration, insight, and self-help. The essence of spiritual awakening, enlightenment, inspiration, and insights that illuminate the path to divinely guided wisdom is beautifully illustrated with full-color photos and a journal in the back for recording your personal thoughts. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, Judy's book is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. Discover your true authentic self through the essence of spiritual awakening as you journey toward your path to self-enlightenment.
All right, we're talking to Colleen M. Story. She's a novelist. She's a writer's resource. She's a public speaker. She's a French horn player, and a whole lot more as well. Colleen, tell us about your writer resources. I'm looking at 3 books here. Your Writing Matters, Writer Get Noticed, and Overwhelmed Writer Rescue.
Yeah, those came about because of my website, writingandwellness.com. When I got my second novel publishing contract, that was for Lorena's Gift, I wanted to step up my platform because the blog and website that I had at the time weren't doing a whole lot. I wasn't getting a lot of readership. So I was kind of racking my brain, how can I do that, and decided to combine the skills that I have from my day job, which is a freelance writer for the health and wellness industry, with my interest and passion for creativity and writing. And so I called it Writing and Wellness and started blogging about topics that affect writers' wellness in various ways, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. All these things as writers, we aren't just, wordsmiths on the page, but everything that happens in our lives kind of affects how well we do at finishing our work and getting it out there and how happy we are with our careers. So I started writing that blog and building that website, and it kind of took off. I got readers for it, and pretty soon I was getting invitations to come and speak on topics that I was covering there. And one of the first ones that continues to be a popular topic today is productivity and time management, because we're all so busy and every writer has a struggle of not only fitting the writing in, but then trying to fit in everything else we have to do in terms of marketing and running our social media platforms and all those things. So productivity continues to be a popular topic, but that was kind of the first one that rose to the top. So I ended up diving into writing the nonfiction books because of what my readers were needing on the blog. I hadn't planned to do that, hadn't thought of doing that. My writing dreams were always focused on fiction, and I did fiction first. But with the readers, struggling with these issues, I went ahead and started putting through books to address those. Overwhelmed Writer Rescue is all about, trying to get a hold of your time and manage it better and be more productive with the time you do have, and, to be okay with yourself in whatever schedule works best for you. And that one did well, and so I kept going after that. Writer Get Noticed is about finding your niche on your platform. I think we kind of all know that we have to find a niche to attract readers, and that can be difficult to do at times. If you're a romance writer, that's usually not enough to draw people to you. You have to have some niche, some way to draw them in. And so Writer Get Noticed is full of exercises and questions and things you can do to kind of drill down what your niche might be. And then Your Writing Matters was in response to comments I was getting at writers' workshops I had writers coming up to me and saying, I'm doing all this and I'm just not really sure it matters, especially if I'm not, a best-selling writer or I'm not making a bunch of money off my books. Does it really matter that I'm doing this? Sometimes, we have these questions that pop up in our minds because it does take so much time and so much work. And so that book was written in response to that question.
Okay. Yeah, and I see these are, you've got quite a few reviews on these, so it looks like you're reaching a pretty good audience there with your, your resources.
Well, you learn as you go, right, Beem? I mean, how to get reviews is a whole other question, and one that I continue to learn about and continue to share what I learn on writing and wellness, because, that's ever-changing as far as how you do that and where you go for that. And so, something that I've tried to learn as I've gone, how to do that and how to get the word out about those books. But, yeah, I've always been pleased with the people that seem to get useful information out of there that helps them to go on and do better in their writing, because I know it can be a real struggle.
Yeah. Now you also do public speaking as well. So what's this all about? I mean, what do you talk about and where do you do this?
It has been at writers' workshops and writers' conferences and events like that. I've led spoken at many writers' workshops. I've been a keynote speaker down in Texas for a writing academy down there. I find that comes easy to me, which is kind of surprising, being an introvert. But being able to run workshops and connect with writers that way and help them out with various challenges is something I enjoy. I'll be speaking at a local event here soon about the real King Midas, the history behind him, and everything that happened with him, a bunch of fascinating things that I think that people enjoy learning about. So, yeah, it's just kind of, again, not something I plan to do, but people, after, the Writing and Wellness platform kind of started growing, I would get invitations to go speak at these various events. I'm going to be doing one in September here in Idaho Falls, another writing conference then. So, yeah, it's just something I enjoy doing and has kind of also grown organically.
Oh, that's a terrific way to meet your fans and meet the people that you're trying to reach and build your audience with as well, too. Can you think of a poignant example where you've met with a fan or gotten a fan letter or review or something that really stood out to you, that meant something to you and was particularly poignant?
Probably for that, I'd probably have to go back to my fiction. I mean, there's a lot of those that you get that warm your heart whenever a reader takes the time to give a review or let you know what they thought. I've gotten emails from people saying that my books are helping them, from writers. So every one of those is I mean, that makes what you're doing worthwhile, even if you wonder sometimes. I mean, you get that feedback, and that is just golden for us as writers. I'm sure all the writers listening feel the same way. But I just got a review on The Curse of King Midas from a reader that I'm not even sure where she came from. But I think you sometimes get those reviews from readers, and you can just tell by the way they write the review that they really got it. They got what the story was. Yeah, you understand that.
Oh, exactly.
And they understood and they followed it, and it rang true for them. And that review actually for me just came in last night, and just this beautifully written review from someone that just really got the story, really understood the story. And for me, that's really a moving experience to have that happen. It makes everything seem worthwhile that you go through to keep going as an author.
And it doesn't take that many, does it? Just a couple, just to know that they're out there. They're out there. Maybe not everybody's getting all of it, but there are some that are, and that's who you're writing for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, Colleen, you're in the perfect position to offer advice because you've got these resources. What advice do you have for an up-and-coming author, or maybe somebody that's got several books out there and maybe they're feeling a little frustrated, lack of sales or whatever, or just anybody in general who's in the writing game? What kind of advice do you have?
let me start with the up-and-coming writer. For those writers, I always encourage them to trust themselves. If you feel compelled to write, because so many people, come to me, I don't know if I'm talented enough, or I don't know if I'm good enough, and self-doubt is a huge thing we talk about on writing and wellness, and, I don't know if I should be doing this. It's almost like in some ways we feel a little guilty, for indulging this creative side of us. And I try to encourage young writers that haven't had their first book yet, that if you are compelled to write, there is a reason for that. And the reason probably is not that you're destined to be the next Stephen King, although maybe you are. But the reason has a lot more to do with finding meaning in life, finding purpose in life, and these things are so very important. I'm a health writer during the day, and I've read many studies about how people in their senior years who found purpose in life always lived such higher quality lives than people who did not. And if you feel compelled to write, I would say trust that instinct, trust that intuition, and just write. And it's okay if it's bad, because you can always go back and fix it. Don't worry about whether you're talented enough, whether you're good enough. I can say pretty much unequivocally that every writer that I have read material from, and there have been many, every one of them had talent. Talent is not the breaking issue that many young writers think it might be. If you feel that desire to write a story, absolutely you should do it. And you should do it because it can lend purpose to your life. You should do it because I have grown as a person more because I was a writer than perhaps any other thing I've done except for maybe music. It will stretch you. It will make you grow. It will make you into a bigger, better person as you age if you stick with it. There are so many benefits to writing that have been proven in studies that I would say don't question it for a second. Just sit down and do it. As far as experienced writers who may be feeling frustrated, I would say we all go through that. It affects us all. There's hardly any writers that haven't been doing this for a while that don't struggle. They don't say, okay, I'm on book number 4. I'm still maybe not earning as much as I wanted to, or I'm not selling as much as I wanted to. I'm getting tired because I not only have to write and edit and proofread and publish, but then I have to market and build this platform and be on social media and do content marketing and all these things. And oh my gosh, it's not going to where I wanted it to go. And in that case, I would say return to why you're writing in the first place. Return to the joy of the storytelling, because we can get so wrapped up in the numbers and the results that they can really be soul-destroying. And go back and remember that you're writing for the joy of the story. You're writing for those readers who get it. And, if you want to quit, that's one of the things I talk about in Your Writing Matters. If you want to quit, then go ahead and quit. Sometimes that's the best thing to do. You will probably come back to it, because those of us who are writers miss it after a while.
Yeah.
But if you need to quit for a while, do that. Maybe you need a rest. Maybe you need a break. But again, it kind of comes back to trusting yourself. Trust the joy of writing that you have. Try not to get too caught up in numbers. And then I would say often that the success you're seeking takes longer than you think it should take. It takes more books. It takes more years. It takes more building of your audience and your platform. So relax. You're going to grow at the pace you're supposed to grow at, and just enjoy the writing process.
Yeah, I've said this numerous times. The writing is the easy part. It's all that other stuff. The marketing, the social media, all that other stuff. That's the time-consuming, banging your head against the wall kind of thing. But going back to your talking about the writer's resources on Twitter, Robert G. Williscroft, he chimed in on there. He said, Robert Newton Peck's Secrets of Successful Fiction is the very best book on writing fiction I have ever read. So The Secrets of Successful Fiction by Robert Newton Peck. Go check it out if you're looking for a resource, everybody.
Yeah, now we've been talking to Colleen M. Story. She's a novelist. She's a writer's resource. She's a public speaker. She's a denizen of local orchestras playing the French horn, and she's just an all-around fun person to talk to. We really enjoyed having you on tonight, Colleen.
Thanks so much, you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, everybody check out her newest novel, which is The Curse of King Midas, and she's working on the second book in that series now. Me, I'm looking forward to book 12 when he opens that chain of muffler shops all across the U.S. But
I thought about that earlier.
I know we all thought about it. But anyway, that's The Curse of King Midas. It's in pre-sale right now. You can get one print edition. The other one you have to pre-order. And your ebook you got to pre-order. Going to be out June 10th. The Curse of King Midas by Colleen M. Story. Now, Colleen, we're about out of time here, so we got to wrap this up. But how do our listeners find you? How do they follow you? How do they contact you? What are your handles? Do you have a website? What's your street address? And what time do you get up every morning?
My main author site is just my name, ColleenMStory.com. That's COLLEEN, M as in Mary, story like a book.com. And then my site for writers is writingandwellness.com and is spelled out, and all of my social links are on those pages.
Oh, that's convenient. Good. Yeah, get out there and start following and help spread the word, people. And like I say, Robert G. Williscroft is recommending Secrets of Successful Fiction as one of the best he's read. He hasn't read Colleen M. Story's books yet. So,
yeah. There you go.
Yeah, check them out. You writers who are looking for a good resource, Colleen M. Story. You readers who are looking for some good novels, Colleen M. Story. Colleen, again, it's been fun having you on. Sorry about the delay and all the problems with the tech issues last week, but I'm glad we got you in for our 200th Voice of Indie episode.
Me too. Thanks so much, you guys.
All right. So tomorrow night, Wednesday night?
Tomorrow night.
Back at our normal time?
Cheryl Carpinello. And then we're going to be talking about that new audio book, the Young Knights audio book, which was narrated by movie star Ethan Drew. Cheryl Carpinello. We had her on the podcast once before, but now she's got an audio book to talk about. And after that,
the following week, that's next week, we've got B.A. Johnson, who checked in tonight, Barbara Johnson. So this is actually a reschedule as well because we had an issue when she was scheduled to be on. So hopefully we're past the issues here. But tune in next week for B.A. Johnson, and after that, voice artist Trenton Bennett. Now, we have produced 7 or 8 audio books with Trenton Bennett as the voiceover narrator. A lot of Robert G. Williscroft audio books are Trenton Bennett. We had him on the show a couple of years ago, and he talked quite a bit about how to produce audio books, how to work with voice talent, how to work with ACX, and there's a lot of new developments, things going on, too. So Trenton is going to be talking about his latest projects and how to get into audiobooks and what's the latest trends, what's going on, and especially what's going on with AI doing audiobook readings for people now. So Trenton Bennett, that's going to be in 3 weeks, and after that? After that, live from Mumbai, India. I believe it's going to be like 4:30 in the morning the following day for her, Fizza Pathan. So tune in for that. Fizza's an old friend of ours, going way back when we all were part of a book club once upon a time. So tune in for that. And after that, podcast hosts and novelists Rob and Joan Carter. They're also paranormal investigators, but we have been on their video podcast. They have been on our audio podcast. They've got a new book out. So we're going to have Rob and Joan Carter back talking about their new book, and no telling what else we'll get into. When They're always a good time on the show.
Yeah.
So tune in for that. And I've got more lined up. I just got to get them signed in here, and kind of, with the technical issues, I haven't jumped in to book a bunch of people. I just kind of want to make sure we're good to go. But so tune in tomorrow night, everybody. Cheryl Carpinello shows up.
Yeah, and if you know anybody who missed tonight's show with Colleen M. Story, tell them to check out our archives, YouTube, Spotify. We're all over the place out there. And tonight's episode was one you don't want to miss. So thanks again, Colleen M. Story.
Thank you, Colleen.
It was great having you on. Took 2 tries, but we had a good time.
Thanks, you guys. Absolutely.
All right. We'll see everybody next week.
Bye, everybody.
You're listening to The Voice of Indie.
You've been a part of Voice of Indie, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.